Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, this is Sandra Champlain. Welcome to We Don't Die Radio. I am your host. I am the author of the #1 international best-selling book, We Don't Die, A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death. And today, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Foreword by Dr. Bernie Siegel and read it to you and tell a little bit about how the Foreword came to be. So I want to take you back in time. Just a year and a half ago, I was sitting in a chair at something called Author 101 University, and I had a dream of writing this book. And Rick Frischman, who led the seminar, said, every great book needs a powerful quote on the front from a reputable author or famous person, and then a foreword. So as I started writing the book, I was thinking, well, who do I know that's famous that would do such a thing? And after I got most of the manuscript completed, I was being coached by a gentleman named Hobie Hobart, and his wife, Kathy Dunn, created my beautiful book cover. And Hobie helped me start brainstorming, who would be a great person to write my foreword and give the quote. And before any other names came up, he said, Sandra, I don't know why I'm thinking this, but I keep getting the thought that you should ask Dr. Bernie Siegel. When he said that, it was like pins and needles and goosebumps ran through my body. What Hobie didn't know is that 30 years prior to me talking to Hobie, my dad actually worked with Bernie Siegel. Bernie was one of the first physicians that worked in the whole field of mind over body. My dad was diagnosed with cancer. He had a tumor shape of a potato running from his kidney to his pelvic bone, and he was given 3 months to live. Working with Bernie, Dad did things like visual imagery. He imagined the character of Pac-Man going through his body and eating up the cancer cells and some other things. And needless to say, Dad lived an extra 30 years and attributed it to working with Bernie. He doesn't want to be called Dr. Bernie or Dr. Siegel, just plain Bernie. My dad loved Bernie, loved working with his exceptional cancer patients, and Dad was an avid bike rider and rode his bicycle across the United States on 5 separate occasions, and all the money he raised he gave to Bernie's organization. So, my dad passed away from cancer on May 11th, 2010, different kind of cancer, and here I am ready to publish this book. And, Dad really was the force behind it, making me promise that I'd write a book about my story, and that my mentor, Hobie Hobart, said, Bernie Siegel. So how does one contact a person one has never met before? And I simply went online to Bernie Siegel, MD, and there was a button that says, Contact Bernie. And I thought, well, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And sure enough, Bernie wrote me back. He asked for the manuscript, and what I didn't expect was this unbelievably wonderful foreword that came in return. And he even said to me in an email that my dad's smiling down from heaven and that he's proud of me. So Bernie remembered Dad, and it's just beautiful. I mean, out of all the names that Hobie could pick, he said Bernie Siegel, and it was my dad's favorite doctor. Well, actually, favorite person. My dad was very religious, went to church every day, and we heard the name Jesus a lot. But who we heard the name more was Bernie Siegel. So that's how precious Bernie was to my dad. And just another quick thing before I get into reading the foreword is Kathy Dunn was creating my book cover, and Bernie had no idea what was going to be on the cover. And if you look at the picture of my book cover, you will see that there's a beautiful bridge, and Bernie sent the following quote for the top of the book cover. This book will allow you to truly understand creation and the nature of life. Perfection awaits us all when we leave our bodies and cross the bridge. So there's another miracle in my story. He sends a bridge quote, and there's a bridge on the cover. So without further ado, I dedicate this episode to the wonderful Bernie Siegel, who gave my dad life 30 years ago, who will continue to empower people to heal themselves and to live a great life for as long as this book's in existence, which will be a mighty long time, I say. So here's the foreword to We Don't Die, A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death. Foreword by Bernie Siegel, MD. First of all, I would like to say that I agree with Sandra when she says we don't die, but I think it's important to define what the we is that doesn't die. We consist of more than one thing. We are mind, body, and spirit. I compare us to a satellite dish, remote control, and television or computer screen. There are many channels of consciousness available to us in our mind, like a remote control selects the channel to tune into that then defines how we act and demonstrates which program and what Lord we are tuned into. So components may die or become non-functioning, but the source remains alive and vital and still sends out messages to all living things. I know from personal experience that consciousness never ends. It does not require a physical body to exist. Blind people see when they have a near-death experience. And I learned the same lesson as a 4-year-old boy when I left my body while choking on a toy I had aspirated. I was able to think and see while never wondering how I could accomplish that if I were no longer in my body. When the child on the bed had a seizure and vomited, dislodging the toy parts, I felt sucked back into his body as if by a vacuum. Consciousness never ends, and time does not exist when we leave our bodies. Those were hard things for me to accept and to understand, but my experience has opened my mind to the truth. I have also learned that when a loved one dies, that grief can be appropriate, but it must not take over your life and be all that you think about. What taught me that lesson was the experience I had with the angel of death. After one of my young patients died following surgery, I couldn't accept what had happened and how God could make a world where children died of cancer. The angel took me to heaven to see the parade of all the children who had died that week. They were all looking beautiful, wearing white robes and carrying a glowing white candle. When I noticed a child coming, carrying a dark candle, the angel told me to go and light it. As I approached the child, I could see it was my patient, Tony. I asked him why no one had lit his candle. He answered, "They keep lighting it, but your tears keep putting it out." I now understand that we are here to live and learn, and that by learning we create a better future for all those who will follow us, as we are creating a more enlightened consciousness for them to exist in. So, when our bodies can no longer function and demonstrate the message of our life, then it is time to leave and become perfect again, and either enter a new body with which to demonstrate what the school of life has taught us, or communicate via consciousness until that event occurs. I hear voices and know that they are coming from the collective consciousness. The voice has helped me to experience a much more meaningful life. I have written about some of the events, messages that helped my father to die laughing and helped me to adopt a dog named Buddy after writing my book, Buddy's Candle. I have also had mystics bring me messages from my dead patients and family members, and they mentioned their names and spoke with words as that person had. One quickie: when my parents died, my mystic friend, who did not know them, called me and said my parents were together again and were being shown around by someone who liked cigarettes and chocolate. Before I could answer, she said, "Oh, it's Elizabeth Kubler-Ross." Yes, Elizabeth was a close friend and mentor of mine. No coincidence. I also had another unexpected experience when a friend, while talking to me on the phone, heard how busy I was and said, "Why are you living this life?" She wanted me to slow down and do less, but I went into a trance and had a past life experience. I will share that I realized I had become a surgeon because I had killed with a sword in my past life due to a lack of faith in my Lord, like being tuned into the wrong channel and voice. I now wanted to heal and cure with a knife. I also learned that words can become swords, and kill or cure also. I want people to understand that to me, a past life experience does not mean I literally lived the experience, but that I am impregnated with the consciousness of someone whose life preceded mine. I think this also accounts for the talent we sometimes see in children that we cannot explain. So the body dies, but we do not. I have also had experiences with animal communication, and when animal intuitive Amelia Kincaid, while sitting in Los Angeles, told me where to find a missing cat in Connecticut in incredible detail while seeing through the cat's eyes. I then became a believer and have since communicated with our pets. The key to this and to all unconscious communication is to quiet the mind. Similar to the symbolism of the still pond, which then allows us to see the truth reflected back to us. When your life is filled with turbulence, you cannot experience what we are sharing with you. We have to be open to our potential and not close our minds based upon beliefs, but learn to accept based upon our experience. As Ernest Holmes shared in Science of Mind, what if Jesus was the only normal person who ever lived? My definition of God is loving, intelligent, conscious energy. Therefore, we are immortal through our love and consciousness, and capable of altering the physical world through our consciousness and energy by creating the future we desire. When we choose what is life-enhancing for every living thing, we make miracles possible. Our bodies are the tools we use, but cannot last forever, as our love, energy, and consciousness can and do. I can think of so many stories in which messages from the dead have been shared with me by their loved ones. In one case, a murdered young woman loved birds, and at her sister's outdoor wedding, a bird interrupted the wedding by making so much noise that everyone's reaction was that it was her sister. As the mother was telling the story, a bird flew in the open window of the room we were meeting. Never had that happened in all the years we met there. Your son loves seagulls, and one winter's day, a seagull lands on the highway. In your mind, you hear him say, "Mom, slow down." You do, and drive around the bend and see a pile up of cars caused by a sheet of ice on the road, which you avoid. Your son loved butterflies, and after his death, a butterfly follows you while walking in Connecticut. When his dad got home, he looked up the butterfly in his son's book, and it was a species only found in South America. I have photographs of a butterfly that stayed with me and my wife for a day and a half after my wife rescued it from a store by offering it her hand, as we did an outdoor workshop on the Hawaiian island of Kauai, where my patient had died. When we were ready to go to sleep, my wife went out and brushed the butterfly off her shoulder, and it came back into our apartment, sitting on her other shoulder. It finally flew off when the workshop ended. Remember, we can be thrown off the earth when our bodies die, but we are still riding the horse of life. When we are ready to leave our bodies and are free of conflict, we can decide to leave with no difficulties. As my father put it in giving his advice to seniors, tell them to just fall up. The night he was tired of his body, he told us no dinner or vitamins and fell up that evening at the age of 97. I have worked with people who have been brain dead for years, but where legal issues prevent the family from ending their tube feedings. I simply shared with one woman who had been in that state for 2 years, because we can hear while in coma, under anesthesia and asleep, that her love would stay with us if she needed to go. It was all right. She died within 15 minutes of me speaking to her. I have also had people respond, "I'm not going anywhere." I had a man die during emergency surgery for a perforated intestine, and the anesthesiologist was leaving the room to get help to transport the body. I figured, due to my exposure to Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, I had little to lose if his spirit was still around. So I said his name and, "It's not your time yet, come on back." His heart started beating, and he recovered. The anesthesiologist was quite impressed. So accept your life as an experience and know that the only thing of permanence is our love and expressing it through our consciousness as we live and learn through our experience. The great teacher. Death, what a great teacher you are. Yet few of us elect to take your class and learn about life. That is the essence of death's teaching. Death is not an elective. We must all take the class. The wise students audit the class in their early years and find enlightenment. They are prepared when graduation day comes. It is your commencement. From a distance. They sang, "God is watching us from a distance." I don't agree. I know God, and it is a short trip to God. If you'd like me to introduce you to yourself someday, let me know. When I was a child, I thought God was way up there, a long way off. Now I know God is here. Those who understand know that if you can't see God, it's because you can't stoop low enough or think you have to be tall enough to see in a mirror. Be still, bend forward, and get close to yourself, and water will reflect your godliness too. That was the beautiful foreword from We Don't Die, A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death, written by Dr. Bernie Siegel. If you want more information about Dr. Bernie Siegel, just go to Bernie Siegel, MD. This is Sandra Champlain, host of We Don't Die Radio, and I want you to remember, you are a soul having a human experience. You are much more powerful than you know. So play full out and get your money's worth out of life. I hope you join me again, and I'd love to have you visit me at either sandrachamplain.com or wedon'tdie.com. And as always, my book is available wherever you buy your favorite books. So have a great day. Thank you for being here.